Beginning a new chapter from Canto 1, Chapter 3. Now, this chapter is called Krishna is the source of all incarnations. That means every incarnation that is there, Krishna is the main source. Hmm? And we have to see it from that perspective. So, to give you a recap of what happened in the last chapter, it was mentioned that everything comes from Sri Krishna. The essence of the being, of everybody's being, whether it's animal, bird, human beings, or whosoever, the soul, or which we call as the super soul, or the Paramatma, is nobody else but Sri Krishna alone. And he is the essence which is there in literally everybody. So it is not an exception. There are no exceptions in this world. So whether they are demigods, whether they are animals, whether they are birds, whichever it might be, so the source, the actual essence of everybody is the Lord himself. This is what we learned in the last chapter. So today we are doing chapter 3. Chapter 3, Krishna is the source of all incarnations. Verse 1, Sutta said, in the beginning of creation, the Lord first expanded himself in the universal form of the Purusha incarnation and manifested all the ingredients for the material creation. And thus, at first, there was the creation of the 16 principles of material action. This was the purpose of creating the material universe. So, here we are being given an ideation about what exactly happened at the beginning of time. So at the beginning of time, when something had to happen, that is what we say creation. Now, when the creation was happening, Sri Krishna expanded himself. Expanded himself simply means that there were multiple things that happened within his being. Now, if you look at, now as an example, I will tell you, if you look at a simple thing called cell division, I'm sure you have all studied cell division in your school and college. Is that correct or wrong? I'm sure you have definitely studied cell division. And when there is a cell division, what happens? One cell becomes 2, 2 becomes 4, 4 becomes 8, 8 becomes 16, 16 becomes 32. It keeps on expanding, isn't it? So that it creates an entire being. Something is happening. So whether it's an animal, a bird, a human being, whoever, there is an expansion. It keeps on expanding. So similarly, at the beginning of time, it is said that Sri Krishna expanded himself, multiplied within his own being. Multiplied within his own being. What did he do? He started multiplying and then he created a form which is called the Purusha form. Now the Purusha form is something we need to know. What is Purusha form? And then there is another principle called Prakriti. Alright. So this is a Purusha one principle and another principle called Prakriti. First we got to understand it. Now if I look at the Purusha form, there is actually no form there. There is nothing like a form over there. It is just an expansion of the essence. It just keeps on multiplying, 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 multiplying. It is basically like it is dividing itself into number of entities, kind of. Think like that. When it is expanding itself into number of entities, what happens is this whole form by itself is now broken up into n number of pieces. Are they separate? No, they are not separate. It is as if one idea is split up into multiple ideas. Got it? Let us look at a currency note. If you see a currency note, on the currency note of say 100 rupees, it is written, I promise to pay the bearer the sum of rupees 100 only. Is it written over there? What does it mean? This is a note and the note has a value of 100 rupees. So suppose if I give the note to someone, that person has to give me 1 rupee in 100 coins. Did you get it? That piece of paper is equal to 100 coins. Did you understand this? It's a very simple analogy. You have to know this. Suppose I have a 1000 rupee note, a 500 rupee note. 1 rupee, that is 1 coin of 500 coins is equal to that 1 paper note of 500 rupees. Now think exactly like this. Here is the Lord. The Lord's value in terms of valuation is expanding from 10 to 100 to 1000 to 10,000 to million. Like that. It keeps on growing and growing and growing and growing and growing. But it is only one note. Got it? As a note, it is only one. So Sri Krishna is expanding into multiple things. And this expansion, which is actually not visible because it is happening in the essence form. It is the soul form, correct? S-O-U-L, soul. So the soul is actually expanding within itself into n number of pieces. They are not pieces also, they are not separate also. Just understand that. And then that pieces which cannot be understood by human beings is like a one single entity. That entity is called as Purusha, the source of everything. It's a source. Now everything has to be created from that. So if I think on those lines again, I will say that Purusha, Sri Krishna expanded himself into a Purusha. The Purusha in turn created itself into n number of pieces, which is what he is saying. And thus there were the creation of 16 principles. Now, how does this happen? Again, a very simple example I will tell you. Let us look at a baby. Now, the baby is the male and the female cells coming together. They come together, they form a single cell. Agreed? And when that cell multiplies, it starts growing into 2 cells and then 4 cells and then 8 cells and so on. Does it multiply within the womb itself? Agreed? When it is multiplying within the womb, suppose there are now million cells. Think about it. There is a million cells in one round. Suppose a one round small round is there. 1 million cells. Does it have to now segregate itself into different things? Yes. Some cells will have to become the head, some cells will have to become the legs, some cells will have to become the hands, some cells will have to take the role of a heart, some cells have to take the role of a stomach, a liver, an intestine, a this, a that. Everything has to take now individual roles. I hope you understood this. It is a simple explanation from human perspective how it works. Right? Now, what I am saying is it is not forming that object. It is still not forming that object. Okay? It is just assuming a role. All cells are the same. I don't know how many of you know when they do the harvesting of that cells, when a child is born, huh? They take the umbilical cord and from that they harvest those cells, no? Exactly like that. Those cells can convert themselves into liver cells, brain cells, or whatever cells. They are the basic precursor of anything, right? Think like that. So here are the cells, multiple entities which can convert itself into brain, this, that, various other. So when Sri Krishna is divided himself into the Purusha principle creates 16 principles downline. Alright? These principles are now going to assume shape and form. Shape and form is still not in the picture. Got it? Only I am assuming a role. Did you understand? And now let us see what happens after that. A part of the Purusha, that is verse 2, a part of the Purusha lies down within the waters of the universe. From the navel lake of the body sprouts a lotus stem, and from the lotus flower atop the stem, Brahma, the master of all engineers in the universe, becomes manifest. Now here, when this is all happening, remember, the multiplication that happened in the first instance is called the precursor. That's the first thing that happened. That is settling down on the ocean of milk. From that comes a stem. On the stem is a lotus. On the lotus is the firstborn. Firstborn. He is not actually born, but he is called the firstborn. He is called Brahma. And Brahma is the creator of now everything. He is going to be assuming the role. Got it? So this entity is created. Think like this. I have a baby, a kind of a baby in a lump. All cells are there. All cells are in a cluster. Okay? Some cells have migrated to the corners of different places. So if there is a round, in the round, some cells have migrated here, some cells have migrated here, some cells have migrated here. Everything is migrated to different locations. Now they are going to assume the form. Remember this, they are going to assume a form. So far there are no forms. So for that work to happen, do you need somebody to engineer the process? For anything to happen, for an ideation to happen, even in the information technology sector, do you need people who are going to engineer the progress? We call them architects and all that. Isn't that what we say? So here is the great engineer or the architect, Mr. Brahmaji, and he has got 5 heads now. 5 heads. Alright? Because he can see in 4 directions and on top also. Right? So, this person is taking a form because he has to now start the production. So, it is believed that all the universal planetary systems are situated on the extensive body of the Purusha. But he has nothing to do with the created material ingredients. His body is eternally in spiritual existence par excellence. Again here it is being reiterated. That entire ball, which is not even a physical ball by the way, it's a soul. Remember this, not physical. On that physical existence, there are different planets, suns, moons, stars, universes, everything there. Alright? I want you to use your brain a little bit now. I want you to go and instead of extrapolating, go inwards. Look at the entire universe in your mind's eye. And now look at it collapsing down inwards. So when you see the collapsed universe, Can you see that there are different planets and stars and moons and galaxies and everything as if on a round orb, right? Now in that orb is everything. So this is the way you got to visualize. So he says the universal planetary systems are situated in the extensive body of the Purusha. That entire cluster is the body of Purusha. If I say body, please don't take it as some human body, okay? Because immediately the reference goes, when I say B-O-D-Y, body means that. No. Body is just a structure, kind of a structure, but it's not even a structure. So he has nothing to do with the created material ingredients. This entity is actually not involved in creation. It is happening on its own. As if in a dream. You see, in a dream, in your world, so many things happen, no? Yes or no? Now think like that. In his dream also things are happening. They are happening as if on their own. So, his body is, because its body is only spiritual existence. It's a spirit, soul spirit form. If physically not present, alright? And now where are these material ingredients going to come from? Now, here, I was just now telling you and I had no idea that verse 4 is going to tell you that. Did I tell you to visualize something? Yeah. See the first line. The devotees with their perfect eyes see this transcendental form of the Purusha with 1,000 legs, thighs, arms, faces, all extraordinary. In that body there are 1,000 heads, ears, eyes and noses. They are decorated with 1,000 helmets, growing earrings and are adorned with garlands. So in your mind's eye, you have to visualize this object. I told you, body doesn't mean physical human body, okay? It's a body, it's a creation. Now think about it. That orb, if supposedly if it's an orb, in that orb there are all the universes there, all stuck up all over the place. Huh? You know how the globe is, no? Exactly like a globe, like a, let us say, when we are blowing bubbles in the air, how the bubble is, exactly like that. It's a big bubble and on that are stuck up all the universes. Now, when these universes are stuck up, in your mind's eye, you got to see, what am I seeing? When I am seeing, I look at every object, because I am a human being, I am to look at it as a human being only, isn't it? So every dot in that sphere, I consider it as a human form, as a form. And how do I visualize a form? One head, 2 hands, 2 legs, 1 body, like that, isn't it? So I am going to visualize like that because I am a simple human being. I can't visualize God. Can I visualize God how he looks like? No. So here I am seeing as a devotee, every form is there. There are billions and trillions and gazillions of form. Each form has a head, hands, legs and everything. So as if, one orb, one of the small dots over there, which may become a galaxy, Andromeda galaxy, let us say. That Andromeda galaxy is supposedly having a head, a hands, a legs. Imagine like that, just think like that. So he is saying, you have to start imagining like this. Because as a human being, you cannot visualize this beyond your thought and concepts, isn't it? You don't have so much of thinking power. So let us give you that much amount of power where you can actually think, okay, there is a form. And in that form, he has a legs, hands and all those things. And they are decorated with thousands of helmets. Helmet means, we say, like a king has that crown on his head, like that, okay? And growing earrings and adorned with garlands. So think like that. So every dot is a form, kind of. Every form is having an extension of the self of God. The God is soul, super soul. So every dot is a soul. Okay? He is like as if he is a human being, kind of. He is a God actually, alright? So, This form, the second manifestation of the Purusha, is the source of indestructible seed of multifarious incarnations within the universe. From the particle and the portions of this form, different living entities like demigods, men and others are created. Now do you understand why this particular thing happened? Because every dot on this surface of this is going to become some demigod, is going to become men, is going to be, living entities, it can be demons, it could be anything. It is like a demigod kind of a thing, okay? It's having some power. So if I think that one is like Andromeda galaxy, does it have a power? Of course it has some powers, no? It is going to go around itself and there will be some black hole, there will be some planets, there will be hundreds and millions of suns over there, so many things. And just imagine that is one entity called one god, demigod. Think like that. So it is only a thinking process. So you just think, don't bother your head about, whys and the wherefores. Because if you put science into the picture, we are all going to go mad. So better not put science into the picture, just start imagining things. Imagination is a good way of learning a lot of stuff. So he says, this is called the second manifestation. What is the first manifestation? Remember, Krishna converted himself into number of cells. So the Supreme God converted himself into tiny elements, right? We have called it an essence. And now these essence have taken a form. And these forms that are there, they are called demigod, these, that, so many other things. I hope you understood this. This is the second incarnation. The first one was the breaking down. First of all, in the beginning of creation, there were 4 unmarried sons of Brahma. That is called the Kumaras, who are being situated in a vow of celibacy, underwent severe austerities for realization of the absolute truth. Now, remember, Brahmaji is there, created. Now this Brahmaji his job is what? What job I gave you all just now? I told you to think, isn't it? I told you to think in your mind's eye. Brahmaji's job is only thinking. He's a thinker. And he's thinking. You can imagine how big a mind he must have. To visualize all these things. A poor fellow is sitting over there and visualizing so many multifarious things. Okay, I will have, instead of 5 fingers, I can have a web over there. Okay, I'll have a webbed creature. And then he's thinking, instead of having web creatures, can I expand the web further? So when the web expands further like this, it will become a wing. He's visualizing like this. Keep on thinking. Now imagine, here is a person who is just thinking no end. And his thinking process has no full stop in it, okay? He can keep on thinking whatever he wants to. And he's been given that job. Now, out of his thinking process, the 4 heads of his, remember, he is divided into 5. Alright? So, in that, he creates 4 sons of his. Sons means the entities which are going to come out of him. So by just thinking process, he created 4 children out of him. Children means anything that comes out of you is called a child. Okay? Understood or no? Anything that comes out of your being, out of your body, is your creation. Is that correct or no? So when you say that I have a son or a daughter, do you call it your creation? Yeah. It's your son, it's your daughter. Correct? Same thing. If you produce gunk from your nose also, that's your creation, sir. So don't be under the impression that is out of question. No. Anything that comes from your body is your own creation. Remember, just by rubbing the hands, okay, and that dust which flew from her hands, the goddess created a child. Would you agree with that? That is Ganesha. Do you know this? Just from rubbing her hands and her body, whatever that mud we have, when we go out and we come, we have a layer of it. We can't see it. That's a different story. We don't have, telescopic or microscopic vision. But yes, so much of dust is there. You take one white handkerchief and rub yourself on your nose. You will find a layer of thick, dust on your face. From her dust, she created an entity. Has it come from her body? Yes, of course. And that is why he is Ganesha. So Ganesha is born out of that particular way. So anything that comes out of a being of a person is their own creation. So 4 sons were born to him. Now these sons, remember, there are no females around. Okay? There are no female entities anywhere in the picture. So they were Kumaras. They were very clear. We are not interested in marriage. We are not interested in anything. So these Kumaras, or these 4 sons of his, Sanat, Sanatan, you know those guys who are there, no? Those guys, they, first thing they did was, we want to go and we want to sit in meditate because we've got to think, what is my father doing? What is this great job he has been given and why he is given this job? We got to think, father is doing something, children, these 4 sons, they have to think very hard. Why is he doing this? And why is God interested in all these things? There's a God over there, Shri Krishna. He is interested in doing. Why is he interested in doing? I got to go and think about it. So they underwent severe austerities for the realization of this absolute truth. I want to know the truth is what they thought. We should know the truth. Why all this is happening? Isn't that your question also? Why am I here in this world? For what reason? I am going through my own pain. I don't want to be in this world. Isn't that what you are saying? But there is a reason for there. Till you don't become these 4 Kumaras, you won't understand that. That is why. The supreme enjoyer of all sacrifices accepted the incarnation of a boar. Did I jump a page? Yes, I think I jumped a page, no? No, yes. The supreme enjoyer of all sacrifices accepted the incarnation of a boar, the second incarnation, and for the welfare of the earth, he lifted the earth from the nether regions of the universe. So here, now I will tell you why the jumps are there. You know, the jumps are there. Suddenly you will find that one verse is not connected to the second and the second is not connected to the third. Remember one thing, when these scriptures, they came into the hands, they had more than millions of verses, or say crores of verses. And when the scriptures which came in the hand, they were a watered down version of that thing. So some scriptures are having some verses, some scriptures are not having some verses. So there is a clear jump, because the pages are missing, something has happened. So here you will find, though we have to now continue in the same way. So the supreme enjoyer, who is this? Krishna, of all sacrifices, accepted the incarnation of boar for the welfare of the earth. He lifted the earth from the nether regions of the universe. So what did he do? Now so many incarnations are there. You remember all those ... with all those heads and legs and all that. Okay, all these gods and goddesses and everything is there now created. So here the divine Lord, what he does? He says, I got to put this creature somewhere, no? Suppose you go on a tour. Okay, you go to Paris and Milan and all Italy, all those places you go to, and you are going to get all the small toys and all those things, Eiffel Tower and God knows all kind of stuff you're going to get. Where are you going to put? You need a shelf somewhere or no? So you got to put it somewhere. So the Lord, what he does is, he has to put all these creatures somewhere. So what he does is, he takes the boar form. Boar? Who is a boar? The wild pig that is there is called a boar. Okay? And he has got those 2 things sticking out from his nose or no? So with that, he lifted the earth from below the waters. Where are the waters coming from? Remember, this is the ocean of milk. Correct? No? From the ocean of milk, he lifted the earth from below to the top. Have you noticed this happening in the world? The land mass comes up sometimes from the oceans. Huh? Islands are formed, right? Exactly like that happens. So there is a bore form which lifts. Now we will all go into the deep things of what we call as the spiritual knowledge, but that is later. But just let us go through these verses just like that. For the welfare of the earth, he lifted the earth from the nether regions of the universe. In the millennium of the rishis, the personality of God, that's Krishna, accepted the third empowered incarnation in the form of Devarishi Narada, who is the great sage among the demigods. He collected expositions of the Vedas which deals with the devotional service and inspire non-fruitive actions. Now here, he started creating. Which is the first form? Do you know? First form just now only we knew about. He's got 5 heads. Brahmaji. Second form is the boar incarnation. Now he is creating more and more forms. On their own they are coming out. The third form is called Maharishi Narada. Narada is what? Information gateway. He has got information. He just distributes information. Networking. He is a great guy of networking. So in your material world also, you know, all your network people, all you have to understand who is working in your company. Narada. Because he goes from one place to the other, other to the other, other to the other. His job is only transmitting knowledge and information. And he just keeps on giving. By the way, his information is plain and simple. He will go and he will see somebody, oh, she's wearing a beautiful sari. He will go to another person and say, do you know, I just now visited Lakshmi ji. And I saw she's wearing a Nallika sari. Finished. Saraswati will say, I also want to go to Nalli. You got the point? I'm making a joke out of it, but think like that. His job is that. He is actually not a person who is doing that, what we say, no, he is not trying to do. His job is that. Information. He just loves to give information. So, the third form of Krishna which comes out is called Narad Muni. So, what does he do? His job is information gathering and information distribution. What is the first thing that he did? The first thing that he did was he gathered the Vedas. Those 4 guys who were there. Remember? They were doing all deep thinking process. So from those deep thinking process, everybody was thinking. Who? The 4 sons of Brahmaji. He goes to them and he says, okay, you have collected too much of information. Now let me have it. Maybe he doesn't need to take a printout. He will just connect his hard drive or something like that. Download it. He must be having a very huge, hard drive or whatever. SSD. So, he downloads all information and he carries it with him. And he's carrying it with him and he distributes it wherever it is required. He just keeps on distributing. Okay, like that. So, and what does he do? When he is distributing, what does he do? He only sings the praises of the Lord. Okay. Right? What? Like you have, like the hum. Zzz. If the aircraft is flying, it is having a hum or no? Like everything has a hum. When you put on the computer, does it have a hum or no? There is some hum. Even if you are driving a car, it has a hum, no? So like that hum is going on in his world. And that is Narayana, because he's got all the information from him. So he's saying, like that. So his job is that. Meanwhile, his main job is distribution of data. So that is what he does. In the 4th incarnation, the Lord became Nara and Narayana, the twin sons of the wife of King Dharma, and they undertook severe and exemplary penances to control the senses. So here, there is a distribution of knowledge happening where different kinds of forms are coming out of the Lord. Remember that orb is there. On the orb are different creatures. Now everybody has a head, tail, this, that, hands, legs, all the same. They are there or no? So each form is different. So in each form is just giving some different idea about what these forms are. So now there is one more form which is coming on, which is called Nara and Narayana. Nara is the human form, Narayana is the Rishi form, knowledge form. Okay, and they the son of King Dharma. Okay, and they also have to do exemplary penances to control the senses. Then the fifth incarnation was called Lord Kapila. He is foremost among perfected beings. He gave an exposition of the creative elements and metaphysics to Asuri Brahmana, and in the course of time this knowledge has been lost. This is sad case. Now, one more incarnation has come out of him, and that incarnation is called the incarnation of Kapil. Okay, Kapila Muni. Now when Kapila Muni comes out of his, one of the forms, he has to give the knowledge. Everybody is knowledge only. Remember, we are just saying knowledge. So here is a form which is the first Brahmanical form, pure form. Okay, and that was perfect being. Perfect being is, remember, first yuga has the perfect being, correct? So this particular form is called the Kapila Muni. He comes out of one of the creations and he gives the knowledge about the divine first to his mother. We are going to do the story. And then he gives it to all the asuras and everybody over there. But unfortunately, that was a very, very esoteric knowledge. It has got lost in the time. I think we can stop over here because it will keep on going ahead and ahead. So we will stop here and tomorrow we will continue with the sixth incarnation. Okay.
Recording stopped.